After 65, many people believe that pulling away from others is a warning sign that avoiding social gatherings, ignoring phone calls, or preferring quiet over company must mean loneliness, depression, or decline. But what if that belief is wrong? What if the very thing people fear is actually linked to feeling calmer, more satisfied, even happier? And what if this shift isn't a failure of aging, but a hidden psychological change decades in the making? Here's the mystery. Across the United States, millions of adults over 70 report spending less time with people than they did at 50, yet surveys show their reported emotional well-being often improves. They're not desperate for more social activity, they're selective. The question is why? What changes inside the mind that makes distance feel better, not worse? And what important detail is most people missing when they judge this behavior too quickly? The clues appear early. Long before old age, psychologists noticed a pattern. In the 1930s, researchers studying adult development found that younger adults chase expansion, more friends, more experiences, more stimulation. But they couldn't explain why that drive softens later. The answer wouldn't come until decades later, when lifespan psychology finally caught up. The origins of this shift begin in early adulthood. In your 20s and 30s, the brain is wired for exploration. Dopamine systems are highly sensitive to novelty. Social contact feels rewarding because it represents opportunity, career growth, romance, identity building. According to U.S. Census and CDC data, adults under 35 average nearly double the number of weekly social interactions compared to those over 70. At this stage, avoiding people often feels like loss, not relief. Then come the 40s, when changes begin quietly. Stress hormones like cortisol stay elevated longer after social conflict. Recovery takes more time. The National Institute of Mental Health reports that by midlife, emotional regulation improves, but tolerance for unnecessary stress drops. People don't suddenly become antisocial. They become more aware of emotional cost. Certain interactions feel draining instead of energizing. This is the second clue: social contact no longer has equal value. The major turning point comes after 70, and most people ignore it. This is where Laura Carstensen's research at Stanford reshaped aging science. Her socio-emotional selectivity theory showed that as people perceive time as limited, priorities shift. The brain stops optimizing for future gain and starts optimizing for present emotional meaning. In plain terms, older adults don't want more people. They want the right people, or sometimes no one at all. American health surveys back this up. Data from the Health and Retirement Study shows that adults over 70 report fewer social interactions, yet higher emotional stability and lower reactivity to negative events compared to middle-aged adults. This isn't withdrawal due to weakness, it's psychological efficiency. Energy is conserved, noise is filtered out. Then comes the breaking point, the moment this change becomes visible to others. Friends say, "You've changed." Family worries, "You're isolating yourself." Invitations are declined. Calls go unanswered. From the outside, it looks like disengagement. On the inside, it feels like relief. The American Psychological Association notes that older adults are significantly less likely to engage in social interactions they perceive as superficial or stressful, even when those interactions were once routine. The fallout affects health, money, and lifestyle in unexpected ways. Fewer social obligations often mean lower stress-related inflammation. Studies published in Psycho-Biomatic Medicine show reduced stress responses in older adults who limit emotionally taxing relationships. Financially, spending drops, fewer outings, fewer social expenses. Lifestyle becomes simpler, more controlled. For many, satisfaction rises, not falls. But here's where old advice causes harm. Seniors are often told to stay busy, force yourself to socialize, or never be alone. While social connection is vital, forced interaction can backfire. Research from UCLA found that perceived loneliness, not time spent alone, is what predicts negative health outcomes. Being alone by choice does not carry the same risks as feeling socially unwanted. This is the failed fix, pushing quantity over quality. Joining groups that don't align with values, maintaining relationships out of obligation. These strategies ignore how the aging brain now works. They treat selectivity as a symptom instead of an adaptation. Link this to today, and the pattern repeats across millions of Americans. Pew Research data shows that adults over 65 have smaller social circles, but report greater contentment with those circles. The missing piece isn't social loss, it's social refinement. So, why does avoiding people sometimes feel better as you age? Because your brain is no longer chasing possibility, it's protecting peace. Emotional goals replace social expansion. What once felt necessary now feels optional. What can you do today if you're over 60? First, audit your social energy. Notice which interactions leave you calm versus depleted, and choose accordingly. Second, replace forced social time with meaningful connection or sort of solitude. Both count. Third, communicate boundaries clearly. Selectivity works best when others understand it's intentional, not rejection. Here's the warning. Based on evidence, chronic loneliness harms health, but chronic emotional overload does too. Confusing the two leads to the wrong solution. And here's the thought to hold onto: what if happiness in later life isn't about adding more, but subtracting what no longer serves you? If this helped you see aging differently, like and share it with someone who's been misunderstood for choosing quiet. And subscribe now, because in the next chapter, we lines explore why emotional clarity often arrives just as society stops listening and what to do about it.